New estimates for the U.S. planting and reductions in the estimates of the Argentinian harvest. Gary Gidel is ready to assess all of that and more right here on Connected Farmer, your channel to keep you up to date with the latest trends in agriculture and livestock. So, Jerry, how are you today? So, we have a week where corn has gone down at the end. What do you think is behind that drop?
Well, it's market this year's, excuse me, this year's activity here in markets really been sensitive about Washington, D.C. and things like that. We've had back and forth different ideas about uh, expectations here for trade activities and that. We have them on one week and then they take them off. And that looks like we're kind of going towards the April second or third date here at this point for a lot of these things, particularly on the Canadian and Mexican side of these decisions at this point. So, that's, and then of course, as we go into the weekend type situation and that, it's always a if you're in an investor situation, you don't know what's might happen. You might have a big change in attitude in Washington or somewhere else around the world, and so I think that's part of the reason why we had a dip at the end of the week. But in general, here the markets have kind of slugged along sideways here over the last week to 10 days, because I think the whole world is starting to realize that until we get closer to these deadlines here. Now, as I said, April 2nd or 3rd. Uh, we need to kind of hang back and wait to see what the administration does or does not do. And maybe there could be some negotiations here that could happen for both Canada and Mexico so that some of these things don't go in effect. Right now, though, the Chinese portion of these things has went into effect and that particularly on the steel and aluminum and some other things along the way. So there is some indications floating around in the world that the U.S. and China's foreign ministers are going to get together, and maybe eventually Xi and President Trump will have a meeting somewhere in the future.
Yeah,
So
on
that could
that,
be a biggie.
yeah, I have some questions for you. I think that for now, China, they have not been able to negotiate, or in other words, I think they are not willing to negotiate a lot. They just want to double down on the tariffs thing.
Oh, no, I agree that uh well, it's back to the idea that you know they don't like to be told things. At least this administration of Z doesn't in China, and so you're right. They haven't really initiated, haven't talked about it. The Mexicans. I don't know how much Canadians have been going on, but definitely the Mexicans have been trying to make this a negotiating situation. But China hasn't, and I think it has to do with some of their general pride. And the other factor is that they are a big purchaser of ag ingredients, and I guess we are to some extent of steel and aluminum from them too. And so there's another factor saying, "Hey, you're throwing things around. You should talk to us before you do that." And that's just kind of their approach, and that still can. I think there still can be something happening there, but it's more of a I'm standing on my 2 feet. Come talk to me. Don't just throw things around in Washington. And I think that's the thing that's kind of happened here in the Chinese side of things uh, versus Canada and Mexico.
Yes, yes. So it seems that there will be a substantial change of what was previously announced when it comes to Mexico and Canada because there is a lot of negotiation going on. We we can expect that. But I received your estimates for US planting, and you are still increasing by a lot the corn surface while you are reducing the soybean surface.
Right. Well, that comes from the standpoint that we've had really a very robust uh, demand structure going on around the world, partly because of the fact that some of the South American crops from last year that was put in late and then other weather came along, they're down from what the was projected in that, and also the fact that the Chinese have been really a very exclusive buyer of South American stuff, so other people have had to come to the U.S. to cover some of their needs. So we've had to yeah, and we're still going at a very rapid pace here and ahead of schedule, if you will, on our U.S. corn exports and uh, soybeans definitely a little dragging there from that standpoint. But from the standpoint of the demand structure that's gone on here in the last 8 to 10 months, definitely is went to corn side. When you look at I sent along the stocks numbers that I'm anticipating right now. Looking for the corn stocks to come down about 350 billion, I should say, just a little over 8 billion. This coming ahead. Well, on the bean side, we're looking for a slight rise. It's not a biggie in that because we did plant more beans and less corn last year, so that's how that's running in that one. From there, and so that's the interesting thing. The corn side of things excuse me, the planting side of things here is interesting scenario at this point. Uh, I don't know uh, if I'm uh, the USDA's numbers that they had back in late February that were basically their economic outlook type situation numbers were higher than the trade expectations and even myself on both corn and beans. And their wheat number was a little less. I guess uh, I'm raising both my corn and soybean numbers slightly on this estimate here, but I'm still a little cautionary because it's particularly in the corn side because of there's some people have jacked up their planting numbers by 800,000 acres from the last time, and have them way above 94 million. Uh, that, I'm not sure it's very expensive to put corn in. And right now, everybody's in a, excuse me, kind of a tight financial situation. The bankers kind of staring at them cross-eyed, things like that. So I kind of feel like and to some extent, you're moving it up 3 million plus. I'm not sure you need to see it going dramatically higher than that, uh, relatively speaking. So, and the bean side of things, uh, that number, interestingly enough, I had two or 300,000 less than last time around when we were putting them together before the USDA. I've kind of raised everything because everybody's looking for the things like that. I'm also still pretty optimistic about the spring wheat numbers. That's really kind of ties back into the cost structure and that it's pretty inexpensive to put wheat out. And also the one thing that we don't want to forget in the background here is that the Western uh, Corn Belt and really from the whole U.S. plains from Texas all the way to North Dakota has had a really pretty dry winter here, and I think that that's another feature why you might decide to use or have the weather the current weather really suggests maybe I shouldn't put out a crop or spend a lot of money on something if the moisture situation is going to be there. Now, I have to say that the National Weather Service and the switch over from La Nina to El Nino supposedly is on the way and everything's going to be fine. But I'm not sure that uh, when it comes to April 15th and people are looking at what they can plant or not plant, and they haven't got much moisture, they still might go looking back at wheat and small grains and things like that along the way. The one area where economics, though, is going to dictate less plantings is in cotton in the Southwest. The interesting twist about that is that winter wheat's already planted, corn's expensive. Who knows? That's another one that could be tricky depending on the attitudes of the producers in those areas. Right now, the overall number might be on total, excuse me, well, the overall total on U.S. major crops could be up from last year, less than 500,000. So it's not going to make a big difference in the total number of acres because people are going to end up deciding to do other things than putting more expense into a crop for the coming year, considering the recent decline in prices because of tariffs.
Now, how does that play out when both exchanges in Argentina have reduced their crop sizes for both corn and soybeans?
Oh, exactly. The interesting thing there's an area that had some issues about drought and that, and then there was a shot in there, what, a month or so ago where they started raining a little bit, but it's been pretty erratic and it hasn't been a constant flow down there. And both exchanges down there, well, the USDA's right now is 50 million on their Argentine corn number, and I think they're 49, I think, on beans. And uh, they had were a lot higher than that. Both of them have taken off 1.5 to 2 in the corn, and the beans they've taken off a similar amount at this point. And I think that that's an indication that we could have less competition from Argentina for sure, and to some extent, uh, the Brazilian numbers have some issues in it. The second crop corn still has been planted on the late side, and if weather does turn off negatively here in August and have an early dry down and going into the winter period of moisture, and that we could definitely see some improved demand. One thing that comparison to going back to a similar time last year, we had things like that happen, and in Brazil particularly, and up to this point, the Brazilians were pretty hefty shippers of corn, which is their second crop corn, I should say, and that up through last September, and they really have not shipped much at all since then, and that really reflects back into what their supplies were, which when there was still the differences from last year's USDA was 123 million, and most of the expectations in Brazil were for a 116 to 118. Well, that's pretty significant differences there of 5 to 7 million on the amount of supplies that could be exported. And I think there's going to be a potentially some reckoning on that, but until we uh, actually get to this next crop corn and how it finishes up is going to be highly important to this market. So right now, the corn market has it's got beat down because of the tariff situation, particularly in Mexico, where we've been such a good buyer, and that. Uh, at this point, though, I think there's a lot of people waiting to see how the South America crop finishes out on their second crop corn, and how Argentina gets through the seasons at this point. So both of those are going to be watched closely going forward.
Yeah, so there will be a full week next week. We'll see you next time, Jerry.
Yeah, exactly. We'll probably still rock back and forth here going into the March 31st data and that. But at the same time, things in Washington can always throw us a curveball, so you got to keep your eye out.
All right, thank you.
Bye.